About a year ago, I was reading an article in The Economist about Europe's slow economic growth. A line in that article stopped me in my tracks and made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It predicted that in the near future, Europe would turn into what's basically a real-life theme park. A playground for the rich with no real industry, multinational companies, or innovations that scale. I think this YouTube comment sums up the thesis of this video pretty well, and more specifically, this Economist article. Chris and I live part of the year in Madrid, Spain, and for most of the year in a small town between Orlando and Daytona Beach. Living in these places has given us a unique perspective. Some of the world's most famous theme parks exist just beyond Orlando, and Daytona has theme park-like attractions too. Both cities are transient places dedicated to pleasure and escapism. They are famous global tourist destinations. The greater Orlando area is more curated and pristine, while Daytona is grittier and seedier. Both cities contain tourist traps, but also have unique cultures and communities. Besides the rides and tourist attractions, what else does a theme park have? Well, they often have beautiful facades on main streets with shops on the bottom and residencies on top with little balconies. These fake downtowns have brick streets, lanterns, plazas, benches, beautiful landscaping, fountains, characters, themed restaurants with beautiful interiors serving overpriced food and drink, bars and nightclubs. The theme parks resemble European towns because they were modeled after European urban design and architecture. Art imitates life, but in this video, I'm going to argue that life is starting to imitate art. I couldn't decide to title the video The Disneyfication of Madrid or The Daytonification of Madrid. That's because the city is increasingly showing aspects of both places. If you're new here, this is Tara from the channel She Saves, He Invests, They Travel, bringing travel tips and finance stories ordinary people can relate to. This is me when I first landed here in Madrid with my classmates for a study abroad program. I've been coming here since 2004, but I've seen the city change over the past 20 years and not always for the better. There were many authentic bars and restaurants back then and fewer souvenir shops then. Now, a lot of the inexpensive local bars have been replaced with fancier bars and coffee shops that have lines out the door and sell more expensive food and drink, and a lot of it isn't Spanish food and drink. Or what's worse is that these older, smaller establishments frequented by locals have been replaced by restaurants that cater to tourists with signs in English, pictures of food, selling low-quality tapa garbage, or American fast food chains. Plaza Santa Ana Mayor used to be full of authentic places.
What do you think of Plaza Mayor?
It's turning into a theme park.
And she says that because we have all these people flinging things in the air, we have people dressed up as gorillas.
Es que no lo entiendo, de verdad, no lo entiendo. ¿Por qué me mira?
We have people
Selling
stuff all over.
Yeah, and then like all of the places to eat around Plaza Mayor are just tourist traps.
I wouldn't, like I said, what Tara said, buy food here because it's going to be really expensive. It's not going to be authentic, but definitely check it out.
These plazas offer bland restaurants with overpriced low-quality food and poor service because the tourists don't know any better and will eat there for a view. Madrid is full of souvenir shops selling the same tacky plastic colorful crap that you see in every souvenir shop. Nothing locals really need, just mass-produced made-in-China junk. I couldn't even find anything that had my neighborhood on it, and my neighborhood, Barrio de las Letras, is famous and located in the city center. And Calle Montera is full of the same souvenir shop, money exchange, gold buying rip-off establishments, stores that sell cheap clothing, tapa picture restaurants and chains. It looks like crap. One of the reasons Madrid is so charming is because it's a city of locally owned small businesses. But this is changing. There are more chain stores, multinational businesses, and American-owned places now. My American friends who are residents of Madrid complained, does Madrid really need another hamburger joint or pizza place? Another American friend responded that he was flat out told by a Spanish business owner that businesses should be more American-like in Madrid. Also, a lot of places are luxury markets and housing catering to the wealthy now. My former real estate agent said the prices are so high that he's embarrassed to rent the properties his firm has on offer. The expensive housing and luxury malls remind me of the greater Orlando Kississimmi area close to where I live. Disney created a perfectly curated residential community called Celebration that gives me Stepford Wives vibes. And people are paying a fortune to stay inside the theme parks too, in timeshares, condos, and hotels. Kind of like the clamor to stay inside the city center of Madrid. The bougie restaurants that serve overpriced food and drink also remind me of Orlando, theme parks, and downtown Disney. The cheap souvenirs and low-quality food remind us of another part of Central Florida that's also close to where we live, Daytona. So does the cheap behavior. Also, there is the problem of bad behavior. Public drunkenness, massive impromptu street drinking parties called botellones, tourists destroying property, vomiting and urinating in public, etc.
I guess some pedestrians pissed off the driver's stopping this whole line of cars because they wanted to pull their car over and get the fight. Mira, hay un montón de basura por la calle.
In 2024, I just saw tourists climbing on the Oso y Modronio statue in Seoul. Don't get me wrong, just like Madrid, Daytona isn't all gritty and full of tourists behaving badly, not by a long shot. It has a lot of beautiful places, too. I was sitting in a seafood restaurant with a colleague, looking out through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the beach while we ate, and I commented about how lucky we were to live so close to the Atlantic Ocean. The historic strip on Beach Street with all its little cute cafes and shops is just adorable. So is the bridge leading over to the beach with all its little tile mosaics. And Daytona has interesting subcultures that attend NASCAR and Bike Week. I just think the party-like atmosphere, driving on the beach, massive events, things like that increase the probability of trash on the street and public drunkenness. And I'm sorry, but it's just not all beautiful. The Daytona Strip is just littered with these thrill-seeking slingshot-type rides and go-karts and mini-golf courses and malls and souvenir shops. All the colorful entertainment looks cluttered and tacky to me, kind of like some of the Instagrammable but tacky places popping up in Madrid. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Madrid's actual theme parks. I about died inside when I found out that Madrid's major theme park was an American brand, Warner Brothers Studios. Madrid also has a Nickelodeon Land and Parque de Atracciones that have a bunch of characters from the US's entertainment industry. I lament the globalization of the US entertainment industry. Because the US has the largest and most well-funded entertainment industry, I end up hearing American music playing in almost every bar, restaurant, club, or shop around the world, including in Madrid. When I go to another country, I want to hear that country's music, watch that country's TV shows and movies, and encounter that country's IP in their theme parks, if they must have a theme park. Especially when it comes to Spain. The Spanish have their own IP. This is the country that invented the modern novel and precursor to the guitar. They don't need the US entertainment industry. Why did Madrid's mayor ask these Americans to be the city's first cultural ambassador? They have little or no connection to Madrid. Because the Spanish have incredibly original and creative ideas, and their art focuses on quality over quantity. The Spanish entertainment industry can compete with the best in the world, even on a much tinier budget, and appeals to people globally. Spanish cinema typically focuses on relationships between people and life lessons instead of large explosions and car chases. It explores the human condition through well-rounded characters that develop character arcs throughout their movies or shows. The directing focuses on subtle acting and showcasing layered themes through symbolism. Spanish writers make you think. Spanish art is unforgettable. The Spanish movies are more slow burns than blockbusters, but this too is changing as the American entertainment industry starts funding Spanish art and American audiences start buying more Spanish tickets. Slowly, the seduction of profitability will shift the focus from quality to producing more commercially viable content, and the world will lose something very special in the process. Maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe I'm being over-dramatic or a stuck-up snob and infantilizing the Madrileños. When I go to Madrid, I want to experience history and authenticity. When I go to Spain, I want to see the Spanish and Spanish things, not Americans. I want to hear Spanish, not English everywhere. But maybe Spain should be about not what I want, but what the Spanish want. Part 3. All my accusations are admissions. Madrid is a cosmopolitan city, so there's something for everyone. Of course the Spanish would want to have options instead of their only choices being Mediterranean restaurants. Maybe they're sick of tortilla and fried calamari sandwiches and just want to go out to eat Mexican or Chinese one night. Or, dare I say it, American food. Gasp! No, it couldn't be. No one could ever want to go out to eat American food. Take this brunch place as an example. I never understood why my Spanish friends like this place so much. There are usually lines out the door, and every time I pass it with a Spanish friend, the friend will point it out and say, "Oh, me encanta este lugar." Recently I asked why. I said it seemed overpriced, crowded, and pointed out that it serves eggs Benedict, which are American. It also seemed to serve this weird fusion of food. My friends explained that they love eggs Benedict, and they can't get them everywhere in Madrid. They like that Zenith serves breakfast all day. My one Spanish friend who used to live in London said Zenith reminds her of the places in London that she misses. That she was actually proud of Madrid when they started having places like that. And this Instagram account by Sarah Ray is an example of a Spaniard showcasing the Asian and Mexican food that she likes to eat in Madrid. You should check out her Instagram, by the way. Link in the description. Sarah sends me photos of herself enjoying Parque Warner and Storyland, a new restaurant in Madrid. When I watched her video on Storyland, I commented that I was surprised that the restaurant contains so many Disney characters. She wrote that she was excited by the opening of the restaurant because it was inspired by the stories that her generation read when they were kids, and she was impressed by the incredible detail of the restaurant. Indeed, I would like to visit Storyland the next time I'm in Madrid. And when I found out that Madrid's Parque de Atracciones had a Walking Dead experience, I exclaimed, "What? Next time I'm in Madrid, I'm totally going to the Parque de Atracciones. Take my money. I freaking love The Walking Dead." And I have to admit, I frequent most of Madrid's specialty coffee shops. Yep. I pay 4 to 5 euros for a flat white when I can get a café con leche for €1.30. And my favorite one is Feliz Coffee. I like the owner, and when I go there, I see a mix of Spanish people and tourists and immigrants alike. And why shouldn't the Spanish have fabulous cafes like Feliz, or Pum Pum, or Toma, or Nomad? Maybe they're sick of torrefacto in their coffee and elbowing their way up to the bar and standing while they shoot back an espresso. Maybe they want to sit with their mocha and chat with people from all over the world. The thing is, these fancy cafes are frequented mainly by foreigners, and by that I mean tourists and immigrants. For sure the Spanish go there, but the vast majority of the customer base is English speaking. They don't order in Spanish. Either they don't want to or they don't know how. So the staff at these cafes needs to be bilingual so they can take orders in English. And a lot of these patrons leave sizable tips, which is not a Spanish thing. And the staff are sometimes happy, about that, but not everybody's happy about it. And an example is that Pum Pum Cafe keeps getting graffitied. There is a lot of graffiti in Madrid in general, so that could be why, but I suspect that the specialty coffee shop in particular might be targeted so often and so dramatically because it is one of the earlier signs of gentrification in a working class neighborhood. Lavapiés. I love Lavapiés. It's a vibrant, gritty, beautiful immigrant neighborhood. And even though I complain about the grit of Daytona, I actually like the grit of Lavapiés in Malasaña. Maybe grit gives a city some of its character. Madrid has been gritty in the past, so maybe there's an authenticity to the grit. Whether there is a problem or not, though, US citizens, like other groups, have changed Madrid for better and/or for worse. The most powerful group changing Madrid, though, is US Americans because of our massive economy, high salaries, and because we come to the city in such large numbers. To sum up, American influence leads to rising costs, mass-produced slop, and the homogeneity of culture. Not everyone can enjoy these new places equally, and not all of these new places and changes are fabulous. If indeed Madrid is actually an open and international city, then it will constantly change. So why can't it just incorporate the best characteristics of every culture and combine them to create a new and unique culture? I think the problem isn't change per se, or tourism or immigration, but rather mass tourism, rapid gentrification, the commodification of housing combined with low salaries and high youth unemployment. These factors combined quickly and dramatically to change the character of the city, producing a city for locals that is increasingly expensive, crowded, inaccessible, and unrecognizable, full of bougie places and luxury housing and cheap, tacky places and less in between the two extremes. In my next video, I will focus on mass tourism. And because you stayed into the end, here is your god-awful bonus. You're really gonna hate this one. Do you know how cool a Spanish-themed theme park would have been? There could have been bull rides, running with the bulls roller coaster, bullfight 3D experience, jumping over babies activities, massive food fights, not just tomato fights, sangria-filled drinking fountains and flamenco dance experiences. Spaniards could have dressed as demons and chased your children through the park. The park could have featured several of Spain's 10,000 castles and Gaudi's architecture. Total missed opportunity.